Running without shoes seems to be the latest trend right now. Is this type of exercise beneficial, or can it cause your body harm? Well, let's find out. In today's video, we're going to go through the pros and cons of running barefoot. When following trends, runners today are split between the benefits and harms involved in barefoot running, but the scientific community hasn't been able to give us some sort of answer that we can use. And so to answer this question appropriately, we must first look at the historical aspects of wearing shoes and what was, let's say, memorialized in the past. And it's generally accepted throughout most of human history, all of human history, running was performed while barefoot or and at least thin-soled shoes. In fact, the original Greek Olympics was exclusively barefoot. And even in recent times, there have been a number of professionals who've been famous for going barefoot and winning many races, such as Bruce Tullow. I think he won the men's 5,000 Olympics in 1962. However, we do know that humans have been wearing shoes for a very long time. The Arni 1 shoe is a 5,500-year-old leather shoe that was found in 2008 in Armenia, and is the oldest piece of leather footwear ever in the world. Do you ever notice Armenians' last name always ends in J-I-N? Just a thought. But we can see from historical records that there have been a preference for shoes for thousands of years, and today wearing shoes, of course, is universally accepted unless you live in Venice Beach, California. But saying that, nothing is conclusive, since we know that some civilizations, such as the Greeks and the Hindus, prefer going barefoot. And that's usually for a variety of reasons. In the case of the Greeks, shoes were seen as self-indulgent, but the long-lasting desire for footwear is quite apparent. And this raises the question, is barefoot the optimal choice? And why have we seen such a demonstrated predilection for shoes? In the last 50 years, there's been a growing suspicions around modern shoes, especially these high-tech shoes. Running shoes have been blamed for increased incidence of running injuries, and this has prompted many runners to consider going barefoot. However, are these concerns legitimate? When we look at the structure of the foot, and you know, I love the foot. When I was in university, I spent many years just analyzing, dissecting. I got so good at the foot that I used to teach labs and classes, and I'd have the students carve out each bone. There's 26 bones in the foot. I'd go around and say, carve out a navicular, cuneiform, the talus. And in an artistic way, you would really get the feel, and you would get to understand the structure of the human foot. And we could see that the structure, it's very efficient for absorbing shock, and by design, it's brilliant. And so when we run barefoot, our legs can utilize what we call this kinetic shock energy of running through the spring actions of the natural arch of the foot. And here's the thing, if you've ever broken a bone in your body, you understand what kinetic shock is and what kinetic shock feels like. Every single step hurts. So you can comprehend the shock your body absorbs when you run. So when we compare the differences between foot motions of barefoot versus shoe running, there are distinct striking differences on the part of the foot that hits the ground first. Here's the thing, when we run in our shoes, we land more on the heels, and conversely, when barefoot, we land more on the balls of our feet. And this helps us avoid heavy impacts, which is equivalent to 2 to 3 times our body weight. Additionally, landing on the balls of our feet or the center of our foot, there's almost no impact collision. Additionally, when we look at things like muscle activity through means of electromyography, and again, I hate using words like this or phrase like this, but it just means the electrical activation of the muscles. Studies have shown there's a higher pre-activation of the plantar flexor muscles when running barefoot. Another fact to consider is that barefoot runners have been found to use typically less oxygen, around 4% less than those who run with shoes. When comparing the injury risk, there's also shocking results. People who run with shoes appear to have an increased risk of ankle sprains, plantar fasciitis, as well as other chronic injuries of the lower limb. And by the way, if you're out there and if you know somebody who suffers plantar fasciitis, make sure you check out my video on it. It's an excellent video. I've been getting lots of comments on it. It's information that they're getting nowhere else. There's also been findings that suggest that running with high heels might even be better than running with shoes. That sounds crazy and almost counterintuitive, right? It also must be mentioned that the American Podiatric Medical Association has not been entirely convinced of the many new studies that report the benefits of going barefoot, and they have stated that there's still not enough evidence to support such claims. While doing research for this video today, it became apparent that many of the injuries that I found in these studies were from, let's say, a transitional phase from going from shoes to barefoot. And this makes sense, because if you're going to do anything like this, you're going to start, especially going from shoes to bare feet, you're going to be affecting what they call the mechanoreceptors, the proprioceptors, and there needs to be a period of time a transition so your body can, a key thing, your body needs to adapt. And that's the key to health, really, is how well your body adapts. And I want you to think about this. So if you're running shoes, the mechanics would be different running with bare feet, because when you run with shoes, you're using the big, what they call the propulsion muscles, the big, I call them the stupid muscles. And when you run barefoot, it's more primal. And so you're using the more delicate intrinsic muscles. So like, it's like this. Here's another way. Imagine going to see an orchestra or a concert, and the only instruments allowed to play are the big, loud, stupid instruments. Or I shouldn't say stupid, but you get what I mean. And yeah, it's music, but is it coherent? Is it melodic? Is it symphonic? Yeah, if you like that kind of thing. But when running barefoot, you'll need to transition into this movement, primal movement patterns. If you look at a 3-year-old run, that's where we should be moving towards, where you're using all of your muscles in a more orchestrated fashion, and the music will be beautiful. So now that we've looked at the evidence, it'd be great for you out there who are watching this to weigh in on this. Is barefoot running something you would like to try? So with this information, I believe we can narrow down the right environment for us to go barefoot. You can choose like a sandy beach or an open green space, and you can wake up that inner child and try it for yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you real soon. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.